Hey everyone, welcome to another live broadcast of the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar. Today I'm joined by our Reviews Editor, Sherlyn Lowe. Hello, Sherlyn.
Hi.
Hi, Wave. And our audio producer, Ben Ellman. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Hello. It's a pretty light week this week. I feel like last week we spent a lot of time on Sundance, and there was a lot of discussion about things that I'm not sure many people will be able to see. So let's talk about news. And we've got a couple things coming about the Mars missions and the latest from Facebook and TikTok. As usual, this stream is just sort of a behind the scenes of us recording the podcast. So we haven't officially started that yet. We're going to be taking questions in between certain segments, so we can't answer your questions as we're, doing the show.
You gotta be fair to the people who are just listening to the audio. That's what I'm always saying.
Seriously. But we'll see. I mean, Ben, maybe sometimes we'll bring in some questions from the Q&A into the audio podcast if they're good enough. I feel like that would be a fun thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody good to go? My audio looks good over here?
Yeah, right. I think we're as ready as we'll ever be today.
Okay, folks. And yeah, expect us. We will be making mistakes and whatnot. This will all get corrected in the audio version of the show.
So if you hate mistakes for whatever reason, just listen to the audio version.
I love seeing people flub on live streams, and that's going to be a big topic we'll be talking about today.
Oh, yeah, true.
Okay. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Senior Editor Devendra Hardwar.
I'm Reviews Editor Sherlyn Lowe.
Today, we'll be talking about the latest series of missions to Mars and why so many countries are spending more time thinking about, launching probes and rovers and bringing them to Mars right now. What's the deal with that? And also, there's some news about Facebook and TikTok's acquisition in particular, which we've been following for a while. So we'll be following up on all of that. As usual, if you've been enjoying the Engadget Podcast, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. And you can drop us an email at podcast@engadget.com. We'd love to take your questions. Okay. So everybody is going to Mars. It's a weird thing to see so many Mars missions kind of coming to a fruition right now. What was it last year? I think we were just at a good point where there was the Earth and Mars were close enough where a lot of countries could launch missions and it would get there sooner. Do that again. So last year we were at a point where the Earth and Mars were close enough where a lot of countries were able to launch missions to get to Mars faster than in any other typical point. It was just like a good timing thing. So we see 3 missions that are going to be coming up right now. So this week, the United Arab Emirates announced that they successfully put a probe around Mars. That was a $200 million project they launched last July. China's probe entered orbit on the 10th. So also this week, a bit after that. And, the U.S. has something. The U.S. has something as well, the Perseverance rover. That's going to be landing on Mars around February 18th. So all these things happening at once. And it is really interesting to see more of a focus on major space missions and also missions around Mars. The UAE, as of this week, it's going to be the UAE. Now that it's actually in orbit around Mars, it is the 5th country to reach Mars. China would be the 6th. And the UAE's probe is going to be orbiting Mars, monitoring its atmosphere, really focusing on the weather. And it's going to be studying global weather cycles and the way dust storms form. And we're also trying to figure out why Mars is leaking hydrogen and oxygen, because that's kind of an important thing to know if we ever set up manned Mars sites or anything for actual humans. And we also know, I believe the UAE is aiming to put a lander on the moon by 2024. Everyone's going to space, kind of a big deal, especially for the UAE, which hasn't had too much success in space recently, right? Any thoughts about this side of the story, Sherlyn?
I don't really know what the UAE's attempts have been like recently, but I do know there's a lot of interest in space. It makes sense, right? The world's going to pieces.
We got to get out.
We got to get the heck out of here. And, feeling like there's life out there will make us feel less lonely, hopefully. So I understand the desire to look outside. And for me, just like learning all these space rocket names is part of the fun. I am curious though, like
you're having a lot of fun with China's, from what I've seen.
And India is actually the Chandrayaan from like I think 2 years ago was one we followed. But no, this is one of the races that's going on. To me, it seems like the other race is the manned missions, right? Like, well, I don't know if any of these were actually manned. These were like drones and probes.
A manned mission to Mars would be a much bigger deal than a lot of these things. I feel like these things launched and everybody forgot. Yeah,
right. Just even into space is like a race right now, a challenge right now. So going to Mars with manned missions would be like a whole other race. Will probably happen soon, but
we're going to see a lot of things happening this decade, right? I believe China has always said, like, hey, at some point in the 2020s, we're going to have a permanent space station. In 2011, they were saying that was going to happen by 2020. Obviously didn't. Now the latest we've heard is like maybe by 2022, which still seems very, very soon. And let's talk about China's probe and what China's doing too. Their probe, the Tianwen-1, it's an orbiter. Do that again. Their mission, Tianwen-1, it's an orbiter, lander, and a 6-wheeled rover, and they're doing this all at once, which is kind of unique because typically either country just launches a probe or they launch a rover. It's hard to do everything all at the same time, and China's plan is to look at the geological structure, atmosphere, soil, environment, because it's going to be actually right into Mars. That's going to be much better than having a probe too, but they're going to have both. And I feel like that's going to be an important thing. China is the first country that's going to be doing both the orbiter and rover at the same time. And maybe we're going to see more of these combined missions from some countries too, just because the cost of launching and traveling there seems like, hey, you should probably do more than one thing on your trip. I believe the probe is going to be orbiting. It's going to be releasing the rover and also coordinating the landing and all that stuff. The Chinese rover is going to be there for 3 months, and they're hoping it can learn more. This also follows kind of a failure for China too. In 2011, they had a probe that they tried to launch to reach Mars. It kind of stalled. It got stuck in the Earth's orbit, and a couple of years later, it just came crashing down to the planet. But now China has made some bigger leaps too. And the US, NASA has the Perseverance rover, which is going to be, hey, it's another rover from NASA. I'm not sure like what else they're going to be able to do, and I hope it lands there, successfully. That seems like the hard part, because landing anything on Mars, because it has such a thin atmosphere and you can't like use parachutes, you really have to think hard about how you get something down to the surface. That's going to be an ongoing problem for all these countries. Do you have any thoughts, Sherlyn, just, I guess, in general, about the push towards Mars and what these countries are doing?
For sure. I mean, like, this thought kind of just came to me, like, calling it a space race. It is a race because it's for these countries to stake their flags on new territories. If you think about it, whoever finds things out first, or whoever manages to, set up camp first or whatever, is going to be able to claim. You have to think for the future when we're trying to own pieces of these places. When by we, I mean the human pop race, right?
Human race,
But like, if Elon Musk's going to be there first, then like Tesla's going to own a huge, or whatever, SpaceX is going to own a huge part of whatever planet we decide to start off with.
That is our horrific future, where the moon just has a giant Tesla or SpaceX logo on it because Elon Musk got there first.
Like
Ad Astra. Talk about a movie that nobody really talks about, but the Brad Pitt starring film Ad Astra from a couple years ago had this. It is a wonderful, like, unique sci-fi movie, but it has this vision of the moon, which is just like a mini mall, right? It is like they get to the moon via commercial Virgin Galactic flights, and it's just like Subway and Sbarro and Pizza Hut on the moon in a base. It's just like, it's like going to a mall, and that's where we're headed, kind of, right?
Space travel, it's like it's as depressing as Penn Station or whichever little convenience kiosks get into. It's
the Port Authority on the moon, basically.
Exactly.
Nightmare.
Ad Astra take on it. I'm seriously hoping that that's not what it becomes. That's why it's, I guess, slightly more encouraging to see it's more like efforts from countries rather than the sector. Making it to these places first. That's why I feel like, space programs are looking for funding all the time. But it is intriguing to see. I am curious to see with China's like efforts, like you mentioned, right? Like, will they beat the US? And if so, will this give them more like power over time? I don't know, but it's interesting to see.
Yeah, it's everyone's betting on space. This is the new space race, basically. Like as you were mentioning, like in the 70s, it was the US and the Soviet Union, and hey, we over those years and since then we've put 14 satellites around Mars across several different countries, 6 of which are still currently active, not including these new ones launching or landing this week. So, it is funny to see things moving so quickly. I'm interested in seeing more Mars study, not necessarily man travel. I don't think I don't think we need to be there. It is, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a desert, but just going to a desert on Earth, going to one where it is both a desert and hostile to life in almost every way. I'm not sure that's the big push we need to put our money on, but I would love to study Mars. I want to study all the other planets. And certainly we can do a lot of this with robots and with probes and with machines that land and don't risk human lives. But yeah, I wonder how fast we'll move on from that. Yeah.
A little factoid for our podcast listeners and our live stream viewers. I just want to point out that there's an article I read that translated the name of the Chinese rocket Tianwen-1 as like quest for heavenly truth. And like that's a very literary, like a very prose-like way of describing it. The Tianwen literally means sky questions. So that's a lot to interpret from sky questions, but it is about like yes.
It's very literal. I have sky questions. I need sky answers.
The sky, but I will say that like Chinese is a poetic language. There probably is that meaning from whoever named the shuttle, but it's questions about the sky, which is a kind of nice for a shuttle.
I assume, given that it is literally China's biggest space mission so far, that they're trying to be a little poetic with it, but I don't know.
Yeah, the one they used before this Yinghuo 1, it's more like Firefly 1, so that's a bit less poetic, I guess.
And that was the one that failed and less poetic, and it didn't make it out of our orbit. So there you go. Name your satellites properly, folks.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's come down to Earth a bit. Sherlyn, what's going on in the world of social media? When I hear about social media news, it really makes me just want to go back to space and think about being on Mars for a while. So maybe I should rethink my plan about man's Mars travel.
I mean, on Earth, time has stopped. And we know that for ourselves, but also for TikTok, right? Like TikTok has been in this limbo with the Trump administration from, being slapped with a lot of accusations and then this having to sell, then being ghosted by the Trump administration around the time of the election. And then now we're hearing news this week that the sale itself has been shelved and put on hold indefinitely. The Biden administration is looking to review some of the decisions and the questions, or the past efforts anyway, to handle some of these, security risks, alleged security risks. I don't know. I don't know how sure I am of these.
Like just to refresh, like I feel like the whole thing about we got to have somebody in the US own TikTok because that's the idea. TikTok was a security threat, but also it was growing so quickly. And the Trump administration was just like, I don't like that these teens are making fun of me. Right. We need to cripple them somehow.
Right. Yeah. That happened after they kind of owned him at some of their rallies that they all mass signed up for and then didn't show up. They ghosted him first, so then they ghosted them back. But so the Wall Street Journal reported that some of the sources it spoke to say that the sale to Oracle and Walmart is put on hold indefinitely, which is honestly like TikTok. I guess they're going to be fine with or without. Like whether or not it happens, it feels like they're going to be fine. I think they're going to enjoy having their own authority without Oracle and Walmart around. I almost feel sad for Oracle and Walmart. Dev, do you feel sad for?
I don't feel sad for any of these multi-billion-dollar corporations. No, sorry, but I do wonder if TikTok is going to come back and be like, "Hey, U.S. government, you screwed up our business for an entire year." And it just seems like it's another mess that the Biden administration may have to clean up. That the former administration left behind. So yeah. Hey, I'm glad. It seemed like a weird thing, right? When we were talking about this, and like Microsoft was saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy a piece of TikTok." Sure, why not? It always seemed a little weird and a little like opportunistic in a way too. Like, oh, Trump folks are being crazy. Let's take advantage of this and buy this hot growing video app. There are questions about TikTok. There are questions about its ties to the Chinese government too, for sure, as with any major like hot Chinese company. So those questions to me are separate from what happened over the last year, and a lot of it wasn't about those particular questions. It was just our tiny-handed baby former president had his feelings hurt and wanted to destroy this company in a way.
I mean, yeah. Well, in other TikTok news, well, sort of related, TikTok's big competitor, I guess, Instagram, has announced a new set of best practices for Reels, which is Instagram's TikTok wannabe, TikTok thingy.
Yeah.
Its own version of short videos that is not stored. Anyway, and it's kind of basically telling its users in its best practices not to recycle or repost videos that you initiated from somewhere else. So basically, don't recycle your TikTok videos. And if you do that, then people will still see them in their feeds, but Instagram's algorithms may take them down or may not promote them because it is looking for the watermark that TikTok has on their videos. So
perhaps one of the smartest things TikTok did, right, is get that auto watermark that moves around too, so that no matter where people share that video, because it's going to end up on Twitter, it's going to end up everywhere. Like you at least know came from our app. Yeah.
Right. It's at the very least awareness of the app will be increased. And it's a bad look for Instagram, right? Because like all I see on Reels are recycled TikTok videos. But
Instagram's like, no, we didn't just copy this feature. We're doing something completely different, guys. Yeah.
Exactly. But so the official reason from Instagram for doing this is that we've heard that low video quality Reels, i.e. blurry due to low resolution or content that is visibly recycled from other apps, like it contains logos or watermarks, makes the Reels experience less satisfying. So we're making this content less discoverable in places like the Reels tab.
Yeah.
So it's all about for the users. It's all about your user experience.
Not about Facebook being embarrassed that TikTok's logo is all over Reels videos. Amazing.
Exactly. So there's one good thing that will come out of this in the article that our one of our writers, Chris Holt, wrote about this, which is it will at least discourage people from reposting other people's TikToks on the Reels to steal that clout. So, there is maybe something you saw on TikTok that was really good and you're like, oh my gosh, this would get me some Instagram views. You can't really hopefully not do that anymore, depending on
if you want to steal it though, there's always going to be a way. But yeah, I guess because if it's going to be automatically looking for that watermark.
Yeah. And not making it discoverable, right? It's not that you still can't see it on your feeds. It's just less discoverable, less promoted on the Reels tab, which to me as I don't really even watch Reels that much. I watch Reels of follows specifically, but this doesn't make a huge difference to me. And still might not encourage me to download TikTok. Like a lot of people on our team have been asking me to, cough Dev and cough Julio.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. Sherlyn is not down with the hip new app that all the kids are into. I'm just more in touch with youth culture than you, Sherlyn.
Yes. Yeah, you sure
That's
are.
Clearly what's happening here. Yeah.
To explain to my cousins recently what the next gen lingo was, and they said lit squad fam, and then my cousin was like pog, and I was like, well, yeah, I am old. So
wait, why did they say pog?
Because
it just means old. It just means old.
They're just explaining that that's another bit of lingo that people use. Hey, send us your latest lingo, please. Tell us in the chat what the hot words young kids are using these days are, because
or just send us complete gibberish and we'll make sure Lynn say it. How about that?
We'll make it hype. We'll make it happen.
We'll make it fleet. Yeah.
Dev, what do you think about Instagram's moves here to prevent TikTok content? Do you think Instagram has a chance of like finding like of its users or its creators?
No,
for reals?
not at all. Like, and this is the thing, we'll be talking about this soon with the way Facebook works, right? Like, we saw what Facebook did with Snapchat, right? They just stole the basic Snapchat stories feature, right? And that's all Facebook has been doing for a while. Whenever Facebook feels threatened, they either try to buy those threatening companies, and that ended up being Instagram originally. The first, startup unicorn ended up being WhatsApp. But otherwise, Facebook's just like, we could just copy this. Nobody cares. No one's going to come and slap my fingers with a ruler, right? People may shout, but we're not going to get in trouble just by literally stealing features from other apps. So that's what's happening here. Rather than building features that are kind of fine-tuned for its audience and the way people actually use Facebook's apps, they're just basically bolting on features from others. And it is confusing. Like, I logged onto Instagram, I think for the first time in a couple of months last week, and the buttons are just in completely different places, right? The button for finding out where are my engagement, how can I see who liked my photos or who commented? It's in a completely different place. Everything is all rearranged. So it's like they keep doing this just for fear of being, overtaken by competitors. And I don't know, it just seems like they're always responding with fear. We're hearing that with a couple things too. Like, let me just bring up, there's a report that Facebook is working on its own competitor to Clubhouse, the hot, hyped up audio only social network, which I'm not a big fan of, but obviously, yeah, if Facebook sees something getting traction and getting conversation out there, they're going to want to just copy it. And that's all they can do. And I'm not even a fan of the way Clubhouse works right now, because it is a buzzy, hyped up social network. We have a good explainer of it in Engadget as well. It is sort of like just jumping into teleconference phone calls, and you can see who else is on the call and their hosts and people who can guide the discussion and everything. But people relate this to podcasts. It is not podcasts. It is straight up, you're joining these chat rooms. And it is a fun thing to maybe do right now while a lot of us are stuck at home and you're not going out and everything, and you just want to be in a place where you could just talk with other people or listen in on conversations. But I think post-pandemic, I don't know where Clubhouse really sits. The big thing is they've gotten some big guests lately, right? They've had Elon Musk, big celebrity names being talked, being in conversation with notable people from Silicon Valley. It is such a weird insular thing that, yeah, I've tried it. I don't like it. I don't think it has much legs. But of course, Facebook's like, how do we copy this? How do we copy everything? Facebook is Microsoft in the 90s, and that's literally what Bill Gates was doing back then.
I don't personally use Clubhouse. I don't really want to. And so I guess I have a question for you, Devendra. I'm not sure if you've used it, because I understand it's invite only. But these are what? It's an audio only.
Audio only.
Is there anything like a live transcription or closed captioning?
No. So not yet. I think not yet. So yeah, it is a voice. It is a teleconference call, basically, or a large voice group chat. Yeah.
I mean, you can technically, if you have an Android or a Pixel device, use the live transcribe feature to, hear what's being said through the app. But it always feels like they don't really care that much about certain types of users, certain groups of users, and they're all about this one type of user, which so far my sense from Twitter and tweets about Clubhouse is that it's very Silicon Valley, very
Silicon Valley and entrepreneurial hype beasts and stuff like that too. There's so many people who are in the marketing world or who want to build up their brands, and they want to be in the hot thing, and the hot thing is this private club called Clubhouse. Basically. Right.
Which for the longest time, Clubhouse in my mind reminded me of Club Penguin, where the Penguin Club. I don't know. I just thought it was cute little penguins talking to each other
I mean, they're cute little billionaires talking to each other and blocking reporters whenever they feel like it. Yeah.
I guess that makes sense ish, sort of.
Yeah.
But there's more Facebook news, isn't there?
Yeah. Let me see here. So one other thing we learned, and I wrote up this news for us, is that Facebook is going to start experimenting with reducing political content in the newsfeed for some users. So it's going to start that with some users in Canada, Brazil, and Indonesia this week. And it's actually going to start testing that in the US in a couple of weeks too. this seems like a really interesting idea, and it seems like they're finally engaging with the idea that, hey, Facebook has become this weird place where political content just gets this sort of like rabid fan base, and it's shared incessantly, and Facebook ends up becoming a breeding ground for political instability and crazy things. Well, how do you feel about this, Sholin? Like, do you think this is a good start for Facebook's problem with political discourse?
Political, I don't know. I honestly don't know, really, because I feel like people are stubborn. You know, really, what's important is true, like discourse, dialogue, conversation, and labeling things and reducing the amount of like triggering things that they see. I think the labels were probably something that people were more likely to ignore. Seeing less or fewer political items in your newsfeed might help put people in a better mood, maybe just to like make them more open to conversation because they don't feel as defensive, or they feel like, I don't know. That's like my take so far. For misinformation, that's definitely like it has to be banned. It has to be like blocked, filtered out.
Right. And they've been working on that. This is more like straight up just people talking about politics in a way. And I think also when you consider things like the time leading up to the Capitol insurrection, early last month, Facebook and other social platforms were places where people got together and talked about these things. Even if it was private groups, it is still like your platform is being used for literally the overthrow of the government. And that's something I feel like Facebook is trying to stop a little. It's weird because this company has spent the past, 15 years just perfecting its algorithm and its engine for just keeping people engaged, right? Engagement was the key thing for a while. And now we're seeing the net effects of too much engagement. It's like, oh no, we are creating conspiracy theorists because they start reading a news post, right, that is just some random garbage, and it brings them down a rabbit hole and brings them to this group where they start talking with other like-minded people. And it's often older people or people who don't have like many other social connections, so they end up feeling a kinship with these online groups. It is it's a deep web.
Yeah. I'll say this too, like we were just talking about Facebook ripping off of things like Snapchat and, in our discussion about TikTok. And the reason Facebook is able to get away with doing that, I don't think it's the reason, but one of the reasons it still finds worth and value in doing that is because it's able to, it reaches so many people.
Yeah, it's Snapchat too big.
Never just did. So the fact that Facebook ripped off stories, put it in Instagram, and then it's starting to has already put it in Facebook. It probably will come to WhatsApp at some point. It's already in Messenger. So like, Facebook has this massive reach, and we know its influence is insane. Like just so many people live their lives through one or more Facebook apps. Yeah. And it's important for Facebook to consider like its influence on public discourse.
For sure. I mean, Facebook has close to 3 billion users now worldwide, like across all its products. Like Facebook is the internet for so many people. It is the main platform for engagement. That's why I'm so critical of it, because I do think this is a giant company that's grown so big and they have no clue what the hell they're doing. And so often, like, they just look back, it's like, oh, we messed up. Even though all the critics have been saying, hey, maybe you should do something about misinformation and people taking your platform and using it to influence elections and whatnot, which we saw leading up to 2016's election. Facebook, just as a company, has kind of refused to acknowledge that. So, hey, more things are happening. They're actively banning COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. That seems like a good thing that's happening now, because we need people to take their vaccines so we can get out of this mess, right?
Yeah, totally. I again don't know how much help that will contribute to the cause of getting everyone vaccinated, because again, there's still going to be groups of anti-vaxxers talking amongst themselves, and yes, they will not be able to share links on their feed maybe with misinformation, but you sure as hell can bet they're going to like send it directly to each other or post links or find a way around it. There's still people who are that stubborn, but at least
for sure. Yeah. I think the key is the newsfeed is just like the thing you see, right? As soon as you launch Facebook, and it's sort of like just a fountain of information. So if they can be like, okay, you got to work a little harder, like some friction to get to the weird, bad conversations that are enabled by our site. There's a net effect to that where you don't just like fall down the rabbit hole immediately. So I appreciate that. Hope to see more like active efforts from Facebook and others to kind of manage their conversations. Anything else you want to mention about Facebook, Sherlyn?
No, I think I've said it all, right? Like, just consider their reach and consider the influence that they have. And that's why it's important to make sure that they do the right thing.
Cool. Why don't let's move into the YouTube Q&A, because I feel like these two things are big, and then we can move the E3 thing into like fun news. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so, sure. Yeah, I was trying to figure out where to put that because it
doesn't quite fit like after all this. So hey, folks in the chat room, what is up? Talk about
one of the things that I saw before was where is it? Okay, we need Sherlyn to young-splain the words hog, simp, and yeet.
I mean, simp is pretty easy, right? Come on.
Simp is pretty easy. I think everyone understands what simp is. Hog.
Anybody on the internet understands what a simp is, yeah.
Yes. And
I think that it's
the problem is I don't know the etymology of a lot of these things. So
it depends on how you're spelling them too, right? So,
I can help.
Yeah, go.
Go ahead if you want to.
So, well, I mean, one with simp, I think that it's interesting that like the idea of unrequited love, you know, like the internet has become one big high school. So you can just be like, oh, wow, you know, like I have a crush on that person from like a huge distance.
Yeah.
But so that idea of unrequited love and the idea of like the internet white knight tendency has come together to become what simp is, which is,
and it's sort of like the anime notice me senpai mode to like please
prostrating yourself in front of you know, whoever your crush object happens to be, hoping that they will find that cute rather than creepy. Okay, sure. Yeet is really just from a Vine. Recall that one Vine of a high schooler getting, I think, a can of something, a soda can, that they said, this is empty. They didn't say those exact words, but they said, this is empty. And then they threw it, and as they threw it, they said yeet. There's another connection where there's like a dance video from a while ago. I don't know if it was also posted on Vine, of a kid like hitting some dance moves, and every time the group, like the group around him was kind of doing like a rhythmic chant, and every time they said yeet, he would like hit a dance move. It's become more synonymous with throwing either things or yourself a long distance. I've seen one tweet that says Kobe is for accuracy and precision. Like if you're trying to like throw a paper ball into a trash can from a good distance, you say Kobe. If you're doing something for distance and strength, then it's yeet. That's my contribution to the YouTube live stream.
You know, I spent some time in college studying the philosophy of language, and this is what the hell? What the hell are we doing? It is funny how like meme culture is just reshaping everything, right? That's all it is. These things become memes, and we use the words over and over again.
Yeah, I want to clarify that, like, personally, I don't like using any term that has sort of a negative connotation to anyone. It kind of has a mean undertone to it sometimes, and don't really enjoy that.
Well, what's weird is that I think they want that. It's weird.
I'm familiar with the behavior it's describing, and I will just say that, like, we would love to be able to reply to everyone that sends us nice feedback. I think a lot of us who get these nice comments and messages love to reply.
I wouldn't know about this, so please tell me more, Sherlyn. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had bad experiences.
Yeah.
I've replied to a few people just trying to say thanks because it's so nice to get nice messages and trolls.
Yeah.
And it just goes down a path that shouldn't go down. And so it's like, that's why some of us, I feel like my friends have asked me before, like, why do people who have followings on social media keep their distance?
Yeah.
This is the reason, because like almost every time you've tried responding to someone who's nice, they think
weird.
you're either instant friends, or the next question is, can I take you out for a drink? And I'm just like, no, because that's the point. But I understand the behavior. Like I appreciate it. I appreciate the kindness and the niceness, but it doesn't always have to go anywhere.
I have a movie recommendation for you after all this at the end.
Not her. You.
Not her.
Anyway, PogChamp is a whole thing from Twitch. I think we have people on the staff who can explain it better if anyone on video wants to.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't think the video team can really pipe up into
not really.
the YouTube live stream.
Yeah, unfortunately, their audio is not coming through, but maybe next.
Okay, so sometimes you hear us referencing Julio. That's, again, Julio Barrientos, that I shout out at the end of each stream. He's a streamer I'm hoping sometime soon we're going to have kind of like a stream tutorial on the podcast from him, because I mean he's the one who's responsible for like all these nice backgrounds. He and the video team are responsible for the nice backgrounds and like just coming up with things on the fly. I'm pretty sure that like they made a Bernie meme sitting on top of the dog that we always show, like during the live stream. That to me is consistently amazing. I love that. It's one of my favorite things about doing this live stream.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So I mean, a lot of the comments so far are people talking about how even saying that like they have a deep memory of Vine from other things other than Vine compilations on YouTube is a way of dating oneself to begin with. That just shows like how old you are or something. D-Man in the chat said that he only speaks Leet, which, ooh, God.
Don't even.
Yeah,
you've just aged yourself.
Remind me of the early 2000s like that.
Didn't the pod guy, right? The pod guy from Twitch who had started all this, he got a little milkshake duck, I believe.
There are some like racial undertones with that I don't understand and I don't feel.
Well, he had a tweet after the Capitol riot, which I think went viral, and then Twitch removed his emote from the site. So hey, anything we talk about will eventually get milkshake duck. Yeah.
You're gonna have to explain that to me.
I will.
Joy, I'm looking forward to that.
All right. So do we have anything else in the chat? I mean,
let's go. It is a light news week, folks. So we're just chilling. It's fine.
We'll have a longer chat near the working on and pick sections because we skipped last.
Let's go just straight in for E3 and then on to the lighter fun stuff. As in. As if lighter fun stuff isn't the whole point of this.
Sure. Episode. I'll do E3 first then, because I put this up at the bottom. Okay. Okay, folks. In other news, we're trying to figure out what's going to happen with E3 this year. There was a report from several sites that E3 would be turning its event into a digital thing, just like it was last year, which honestly makes a lot of sense. E3, or the ESA, the organization behind E3, has responded and said that they're going to be transforming the experience for this year. They're not saying how exactly. I cannot imagine. This is an event that happens when? July? We're not going to be doing an in-person E3 anytime soon. People aren't going to be getting on planes or staying in hotels. So, give up on that idea. But I do wonder, why are they being so coy with this? That's just super weird to me. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Sherlyn?
I think they're not sure if they have enough news for an event. And I mean, the E3 before 2020 was widely panned as like nothing happening, nothing interesting. A lot of people are saying it was such a much less exciting show than before. And then you have the console launches all happening in the pandemic year. And then now it's like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. Dev, you probably have more insight than I do.
I mean, we don't know how companies are working with E3, and the ESA is still reeling from what happened a couple of years ago, where basically a lot of private information from attendees, including journalists, including their phone numbers and addresses, got leaked out because the ESA were complete idiots when it came to data security. People had to move. They had to move their houses. They had to, find new places to live because their families weren't safe, because angry gamers would take that information and just like send, I believe some were swatted, or like they just didn't know what these people would do. And the ESA holds a lot of responsibility for that. I don't think they ever really fully apologized. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this event. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might be part of it. And I do think that if the ESA is considering an online show this year, it might be because it was looking at CES and seeing how that went and thinking that maybe they can replicate something like that. Not to say that this like CES this year was hugely successful or anything, but all the shows are going virtual.
I think we're getting better at virtual shows, and they're also, I don't know if you've seen this, Sherlyn, but Jeff Keighley is a guy who's been hosting the Video Game Awards, and he's done the Summer Games Fest. So he's hosted these events virtually with big companies participating and big guests and everything, and people follow his events because you get to see cool trailers for things. Some of those events have had like free game demo weekends on Steam, where you could just like go play something new for a little while. And those are all things I think really won over a lot of gamers. Have to say personally, I want to care more about E3. Since I was a little bitty gamer, it was a thing I would read about in Electronic Gaming Monthly and other magazines and be like, I want to go there someday. I want to do this thing. And I was lucky enough to get to go a few times. But where it is now, I don't think the ESA has done a good job of like maintaining its relevancy. It should probably stick around, and certainly in digital form this year, but I hope they find ways to like engage gamers more, and the industry, get some of those demos out there. If they can work with Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo to get some quick demos into their stores, or even with Steam for people to like play things over the cloud, I think that could all be really useful for a lot of folks. This is a place where cloud gaming could be better, where you don't have to install something on your system. You could just like, hey, go into a web browser, play the first 15 minutes of this demo, right? That typically you would have to travel to Los Angeles to play. There are ways we could do this, and I hope we figure this out moving forward. Yeah,
for sure. Well, there's been happier news, I think.
Happier news? Are you talking about Cat Lawyer?
Yes, that's happy news to me.
Let's hear Cat Lawyer.
You have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a look.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
I'm not a cat. That is the current meme, and I feel like that just speaks to the heart of where we are as a society right now. I am not a cat, says attorney Rod Ponton, who was transformed into a cute little kitty cat with facial mapping during a recent trial, I believe, I forget what exactly this event even was, but he was working. He was talking to a judge. He was there was the competing attorney right there. This was a very official event, and he was an itty bitty little kitty cat. And I just have to say, this is all of us, right? Isn't this your worst nightmare, Sherlyn?
I don't know. I think I would roll with it. I think I would have enjoyed being a cat, but I will say that like I've been out this week dealing with like family affairs, and I didn't look at Twitter until that day, like that fateful day when Cat Lawyer was trending. The impeachment trial was also trending. And everyone was like, it's lawyer day, but it's Cat Lawyer day. And like, honestly, there were a few things that could like make me really like laugh or smile. And I was like looking at that video and I was just like, okay, this is like, I can't help but laugh because
everything it is set up like a great comedy sketch too, because it's sort of like you see the cat and then you hear the realization of the guy. He's like, oh no, and then the judge puts on his glasses like, I gotta get a closer look of what the hell is happening here. I'm not a cat, and the judge is just like,
turned on.
I can see that.
It's
I love it.
The
I love it. It is a perfectly executed. And the cat eyes. The cat eyes are looking down at the Zoom logo like, oh no, because they're mapped to his face.
Right. This man freaking out at being a cat in front of this important trial is everything. You can hear the stress in his voice, the fact that he had to explain he was not a cat because the AI was just so good. It was insane. I feel like there's an SNL skit in our future. Like
SNL right now will take the skit and milk the humor out of it so that it is not funny anymore. I don't know. Yeah. But let's talk about what happened here. So we've seen a couple of reports that apparently this was a video plugin that was included in Dell laptops like a decade ago. So this lawyer is just on a really, really old machine. And it was the default plugin for video chats, which I am baffled why you would turn a cute cat filter into something that would be the default for Skype and everything. And I'm also shocked it just works with Zoom. Like, it was smart enough to work with an app that definitely didn't exist back then when it was created. So kudos to the company who has developed this thing. There are ways you could get similar filters on your system if you really want it. But yeah, these days you can actually get like things that are actually mapped to your face and look more modern. What I think what's hilarious about this is that there's like the basics of face mapping, right? Like the face moves, he blinks, his mouth moves, but it is sort of like this janky 2000 era of facial mapping. And I kind of dig it. The aesthetic, if it was perfect, it's perfect, Snapchat cat replica, that would not be as funny. It is, you need the herky jerky, you need the eyes, you need everything to make this work. And, he's the guy of the moment. He is the new BBC dad, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have two things to say just about this specific thing, which is one, the opposition's face is stone cold the entire time, which is incredible. He is not having any of this. He's like, you're not going to win any points from the jury just by being cute. And then the second thing is, my other thought was, what if all of your cats, because I don't have my own cats, but what if all of your cats' internal voices actually sounded like this man's?
Like this man's, I would be terrified.
Cute as hell, but actually, this is how they sound in their heads.
Why would you put that in my head, Sherlyn? Don't.
Now
do
you
that.
have to think about it.
To be clear, this was a civil forfeiture case, so nothing sexy. It wasn't a murder trial or anything. It was just like a simple procedural trial, but it will now live on in infamy. I will say, thanks to the internet, I believe this lawyer was milkshake ducked pretty quickly, because later that day, and by milkshake duck, I'm talking about the meme, wherein everybody's like, milkshake duck, this fun duck loves to dance and drink milkshakes. And then immediately after, we regret to inform you that milkshake duck is racist. Okay, like it's just what happens immediately on the internet. This happened sort of in a way because I believe this guy was accused of using the power of his office to harass a former person that he was seeing. So not a great dude. Yeah.
That is so sad. That is so sad. I guess I will no longer wish that your cat's internal voice sounds like this man.
No, not at all. And yeah, shout out. It was pixelated boat. It is one of the genius tweets from Mr. Boat. And thank him. I thank him so much for, it's him and Drill really describing the internet as it exists today and as we live in it. Let me just see what's next. Okay, Sherlyn, I'm gonna throw it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of the lawyer cat, which I'm gonna love forever. I love this meme. What makes you meme worthy, Sherlyn? How about some Overcooked 2?
Look, very kindly, people in my life or not in my life have sent me this news article about Overcooked 2 being free to play.
Like a tip to a drug addict. Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, D-Man, one of our regulars, sent it to us via Twitter as well. Our social media editor, Mike Morris, also sent it to me. And I'm just like, y'all, I already own this thing. Why do I need it to be free to play? But I
Who
guess,
do you think I am? Yeah.
I have the gold class membership to Overcooked too. I don't need.
What comes in the gold class membership?
The Suns Out Buns Out bundle, apparently, according to that we're looking at. I would be interested in checking out the Suns Out Buns Out bundle, but I will say that there is probably a furious game of Overcooked 2 in my near future. If the snowstorm lets up, or we'll see. But it's nice to see, I guess, some people getting into Overcooked during this time.
Wow.
I think some of the articles are saying that this is going to be you and your partner's relationship test, and it truly is, honestly, a good test.
Really laying down the Overcooked snobbery there, Shalyn. Wow. Like, some people, for new folks, I do think if we ever record you playing Overcooked, especially if we get you doing it live, we get so much meme mileage out of that.
It's been pretty bad. It's the ridiculous. The most ridiculous things have been said. Where like one of my friends when I was first introduced to the game, one of my friends is like an army officer or something, and she was like so mad at everyone. She sat us down and she was like, "You stay here, and then like started screaming at everyone. It was the greatest thing ever.
This is not the army. I imagine for you, Shalyn, it would be like Paranormal Activity, where it's just like you standing in one spot for an hour. If we sped it up, it would just be you like shifting, not moving, not drinking, not going to the bathroom or anything, just you and Overcooked.
Excuse me. Like I said, I have the gold class membership. I play this solo. Like I play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm so good that I can play this at least 2 player games solo and still win and clear
with the controller in each hand. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, no, just you switch players with anyway. Give me some credit here. I'm there. Like,
I give you credit. I give you credit for being obsessed with Overcooked, and I would love to see the time lapse footage of that. Maybe we can make that happen someday. Yeah.
Someday. Live. We can do this live. It'll be fun.
Let's move on to what we've been working on. And I'll let you actually lead the way here, Shalyn, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff you want to talk about from Sundance last week, which we didn't get to hear from you. What's up? Like, what were your favorite things from Sundance?
Yeah. So Coda was actually amazing. So yes, I wish I could have had the time to really dig down to the Sundance chat, because like some of the things that Terrence really enjoyed, I didn't really enjoy as much as he did, but Chase is fine.
You just really wanted to stamp on his joy. Like, I get it.
He loves We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is something that I was initially excited for based on this process, but it was not my thing, and that's fine. One thing that Terrence and I did agree on was how strange 4 Feet High VR was, and I wrote that up for our little Sundance roundup. 4 Feet High VR,
saw that too. Yeah,
I think it had the potential to be really good, like a good look at what it's like to be in a wheelchair as a teenager, exploring your sexuality, which is an intersection of topics that I've been looking at for a while now, but we haven't really seen explored otherwise. And it was a really stark look, but I think the filmmakers got a little too caught up in exploring the medium as opposed to telling the story, so it got a bit too convoluted. Like, it was hard to watch. Like, I literally had to spin around to just catch, like, to stay
for sure
on top of what's going on.
I kind of love that though. Like, my thing about it, so I watched this as well, right? And it is 360-degree video, right? It's video you put on your headset and you're looking in one direction. You could turn around all the way. You can't really move, but you can look in every different direction. I do think compared to a lot of the things we used to see, Sherlyn, at like Tribeca and other film festivals, it does feel like the quality is better and the way they place the camera. Like, yeah, sometimes you may have to look behind you, but it's not always essential, right? There are reasons why you may want to watch this multiple times, because you're not going to catch everything at once. And sometimes you'll be looking at something behind you. You kind of hear something. You're looking at something in front of you. You sometimes hear something behind you. And because it has like, environmental audio, you turn around and there's also something there for you to look at too. So I don't know. I feel like that was purposeful. Yeah.
I do think like I said, the technical and technological parts of it were impressively done. The quality, like you said, was good. Some of the animation, and there is some animation interplay here, was intriguing as well. The way it like was mapped nicely to the surroundings. I just there are parts of the story that to me it took away from, but there are still parts of the story that were well. I guess I had higher hopes for it than.
I hear you.
The other good accessibility related piece to come out of Sundance, I think, was Coda. And Dev, you put us onto it by reminding us it won awards, I think. And
it won awards, and it was also the biggest budget acquisition ever from Sundance. Apple has picked it up for $25 million. That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, good on Coda, because it's a indie-ish film to begin with. And it tells a story of this girl. Coda stands for Child of Deaf Adults. But it also has this meaning in music. Coda means that little chorus you go back to, or I forget, my music knowledge has subsided, sadly. But it's got that like double meaning. It's a word with two meanings. It's ambiguous. And it's a story about this girl who's a teenage daughter of basically all her family members are deaf. And so she's like their link to the hearing world. But she wants to sing and she wants to pursue music and go to music school. And so there's that, like, it's a beautiful story that plays out really nicely. I think this is a clear example of how the filmmakers were able to tell the struggles, the very like hard to understand struggles of being in such a unique situation. And like, I was crying at the end of it for various reasons, but I was crying at the end of it because it's very moving. And I mean, whenever it does come out on Apple TV, I feel like our listeners, do yourselves a favor. It's such a beautiful, heartwarming story. You should.
It is very much a traditional high school narrative, right? It is about this girl who's an outcast. Like she is the person who has to help her deaf family, but they're also they fish, so they spend every morning out on the water, and she goes to school and she doesn't change, so she smells like a fisherman, basically. So it's things like that, and then like the way high schoolers just like ostracize her because of that. That all feels interesting, but also kind of something we've seen before. Familiar. There's her young romance. Yeah, it is sort of like she has to break out of the confines of this family and fly and be herself. And it is that, but I think unlike a lot of these movies, her family, it's complicated. It's not just one thing. She loves her family, and there are reasons why she may want to break out on her own, and reasons why her family may be relying too much on her, and they need to mature as well. So it is a movie about all those things. Yeah.
I think one thing that drew me into it, when I started feeling like the tropes were a bit too familiar, what drew me in was the music teacher character. I think there's a lot of likable characters here that you might want to stick around for too. Yeah. So we'll see. One last thing I wanted to shout out from Sundance is this experience called Beyond the Breakdown. It's part of the New Frontiers, which is like a mixed medium experience where basically I just signed up to join a Zoom call with like 6 strangers. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting it to be, but it was actually a strangely insightful and hopeful like conversation moderated by AI. Asking some.
It looked like a video chat, right? From my perspective, it's just a video chat. Yeah.
Yeah, it was purely a video chat, but an AI was moderating where like it's listening out for every user and it's making sure everyone sort of contributed to answering the question that it was asking. And then when it's time to move on, it'll move on. I believe that when it senses things are getting heated, it'll also force a timeout. Like it did enforce a timeout during my chat, but not because people were getting.
Did they give you a tone warning like the Amazon thing?
And that would be interesting. Yeah. We didn't have that experience, but I'm sure if people get heated, it would. But it was strangely like an interesting and hopeful experience because it made me feel like there are people in this world who want to just, talk about building a better future. I think that's nice. I did a write-up about it on Engadget as well. If you want more details on why I found it so hopeful, I think that's something worth reading. So
search Sundance 2021 for all of our stuff from the show this year. I like this thing, Sherlyn, like as I was reading about it, just because it seemed like, hey, what if this was the way we could build a better society, right? Rather than just sit back and let like people in power kind of make decisions for us, and not really they may hear you, but they don't have to acknowledge what you're saying or do anything about your complaints. Like it is such like a utopian vision for the way we could manage a society. I
enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about what different people in different parts of the world see as care, like, and how they want to live and that sort of thing. So it was good. Definitely check out the site for all our Sundance coverage if you haven't already.
Great. Anything else from Sundance, Sherlyn?
No, nothing much else
or
for
other stuff.
Sundance. Yeah, but other stuff I'm working on. I mean, I'm not going to be doing much this week, but I'm still testing that ThinkPad that I've mentioned last week, and then hopefully you'll see me get back to like full work stuff next week.
Very cool. And on my end, I've got a couple of things I need to review. So I do have MSI's latest GS66 Stealth gaming laptop in, and this is the one with NVIDIA's new RTX 3000 graphics and a 1440p monitor. And I'm really interested in seeing like how are gaming laptops going to handle 1440p, because it is better than 1080p, right? It's better than standard HD, which we've had for a while in a lot of laptops, but not as sharp as 4K. And I do think it's kind of like a nice middle ground. So I'll be taking a look at that. In general, for PC gaming, I've always liked 1440p. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I still have the giant Dell 40-inch ultra-wide monitor to review. It's sitting in front of me right now, and just trying to make sense of that too. And stuff coming up. We got a bunch of things. I'm also working on a review of the new Studio Ghibli animated movie, which I'll be talking about soon.
Dang. I'm sure people are excited for that. I'm not that will tie into my picks, so I'm not going to spoil anything right now.
Well, let's move on to our pop culture picks. What's up with you, Sherlyn?
So I have been looking for like heartwarming things to watch, and of course, my first stop was Disney Plus. And like I revisited some old favorites like Monsters Inc. and Incredibles. I just like them because they have cute little characters, adorable. But I don't know if I've said this before on the show. I would love for y'all to like just make sure if you have Disney Plus, check out all the extras, please. The extras are the best thing about Disney Plus. Where like I didn't even, no one had told me about all of these extras, or I would have signed up for Disney Plus a hella earlier. But for Monsters Inc., there's like, from The Incredibles, there's like a whole separate section on Jack. Like there's just bonus content about Jack. It's great. For Monsters Inc., you get extras on like Mike and I guess his car, which I'm less interested in. I want more cute animated babies. Just give me more. So Disney Plus, if you have it, check out all the extras. The other thing was my actual show recommendation is, I don't know if you've heard anything about this. It's Resident Alien.
I have heard about it, and I love Mr. Alan Tudyk, so I will be watching that at some point.
So I have seen the pilot at the very least, and I'm making my way through the show. It's a sci-fi show, I believe, and it's on Prime Video, if I'm not wrong. It's good. Very, very, very weird. Alan Tudyk is amazing in it, but the show is just so strange in a good way. The story is gripping. I kind of struggled to like the characters at first, but I've warmed up to them. It's definitely going in a very interesting direction. I feel like if you're looking for almost a procedural sci-fi mix plus a little bit of a small town vibe, this will get you. This is gonna get you in all the right places.
Yeah, and to be clear, by the way, this is something, it is on a sci-fi, so you either have to pay for sci-fi service, or I think you can also get sci-fi through Prime Video. So yeah, you can watch the pilot for free on YouTube in a couple places, but I do want to see the rest of this.
I mean, it's pretty good. If you have to spend money on it, I feel like it might be worth it, but I can't decide for you what you spend your money on. Anyway. Yep. My final thing, I picked 3 because I knew we had a bit of a shorter news content sort of episode. My third one is, I've probably mentioned this before. If no one's recommended you play Beat Saber yet, Beat Saber, because Beat Saber is incredible. If anyone has a video trained on me while I'm playing Beat Saber, you'll think I'm cocky and arrogant as hell, because I am feeling myself when I play Beat Saber, and partly because the music in it is good, right? Like, let's ignore the
debatable, but yeah,
I know. Let's ignore the very electronic OST stuff.
Yeah,
they just released, I think, fairly recently, the BTS pack. This is the Korean pop band BTS, and the songs in there are some of the favorites, like Dope I like. There's some names I forget. Oh, there's Boy With Love, if you like that. Boy With Love is a little slow for me. But there's also, in the bonus songs of Beat Saber, there's also KDA's Pop Star which I really, really like. And these are great songs to just dance to. And as I'm hitting these like blocks coming at me,
so you're wearing a VR headset, you're hitting the blocks. Like, it's a very active game, right? For people who haven't played it before.
Yeah, it's less active than Supernatural. It doesn't, you don't have to move around as much. There's some moving around, and it at least gets you moving.
You could put weights on your arms and get like a pretty decent like arm workout there. Yeah.
Weighted bracelet and do that. But it's a good way to get your heart moving a little bit faster. The BTS pack, I shelled out the $16 or $15 for it because I enjoyed the game just so much more with it. But if you have a VR headset, and it's an Oculus Quest at the very least, or any Oculus headset, I guess. The Beat Saber is a really good buy.
It's really good on the Quest, like I should say, just because you don't have any wires. You're free to like, as long as you find a space, you're free to like move around and have a lot of fun. It is sort of also the danger of VR because you could get really into it and just like slam into a wall or swing and hit your TV, your poor TV.
Yeah,
what did you do?
My new TV is dented a little bit because I slammed my controller into the screen.
Amateur VR mistake, Sherlyn.
There it is. That's the scratch. Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, Beat Saber, if you're into VR games at all, I cannot stop recommending it. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, we should do a VR focused episode in a bit. Anything else, Sherlyn?
No. What about you? What are you going to tell me to watch this week?
Hey, so I'm going to tell you not to watch one thing, and that is that Studio Ghibli CG animated movie I was just talking about, Earwig and the Witch. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. It is an ugly movie directed by Goro Miyazaki, the son of Hayao Miyazaki. It's about a little girl who's placed in an orphanage and gets adopted by a witch and is forced to basically be their house servant in a way. The characters aren't great. It's by the same author who did Howl's Moving Castle, but this particular story just feels really weak. And what I hate most is that the animation looks like trash. If I'm watching a Ghibli movie, I'm here for fluid animation and expressive characters and, settings of nature that are so peaceful that they feel almost realistic. And I've been watching a lot of Ghibli movies over the last year because my daughter Sophia is in love with them. I'm very glad that she's into like good kids animated, things, because there's a lot of bad stuff out there too. But the detail behind every frame of a Ghibli movie, is astounding. This movie, I'm working on that review right now. It just feels like a huge letdown. It's really ugly. The characters are like, they're horrifying. There's no detail around them. There's nothing. Everybody looks like kind of a plastic cartoon doll. The animation isn't very expressive, and the environments are all right. Like, I feel like Ghibli has used CG for certain things, like scenes of flowers in Spirited Away and certain things in Mononoke, but never for a full movie like this. And I think it's horrific. I think it is a travesty. I hope this is just like a thing that they made to, fund Hayao Miyazaki's next movie. And I hope, I don't want to see too much of this. We've seen a lot of bad CG anime. Like, I'm at a point where I feel personally affronted by the existence of like stiff CG anime things. The most recent Ghost in the Shell show, a series that I love, looks like absolute garbage. And I'm just angry about it as like a longtime anime fan and somebody who appreciates the way animation lets you do anything, right? Animation is it is a medium with limitless potential. You can have huge explosions. You can have big budget, sequences. The only cost is the level of detail for the animation, right? And CG has a way of simplifying that, but I think this particular movie shows that CG just can't erase the magic of animation so much, where it's just like, you don't want to watch this thing. So yeah, I hate it. Do not recommend Earwig and the Witch.
I am glad you said that because I saw it on Netflix and was about to click through to watch it because I was like, oh, it could be a heartwarming cartoon thing. And then a synopsis, I'm like, this doesn't sound good. This just doesn't sound good. I'm glad that I didn't even know it was Studio Ghibli. So that was interesting to hear you. I'm glad. I'll give it a pass.
I'm working on a thing. I need more time to actually finish this review because there's all this other stuff happening this week. But yeah, there's that one movie I do want to recommend that you all rent and check out. And it's a little controversial. It is Promising Young Woman by Emerald Fennell. And this is a movie starring Carey Mulligan, who plays sort of an avenging angel, against men in a way. Like it's a film about the repercussions of assault and the way that affects the lives of people around you. And in this movie, her friend was assaulted and basically committed suicide because of all those issues, because of her experience, right? And now Carey Mulligan's character spends almost every night going out, trying to make herself feel vulnerable, and taking in guys who could potentially, who are trying to take advantage of her. And it's all about her turning the tables on them and being like, hey guy, what are you doing here? It is a really interesting movie. I feel like there's a lot going on here. It is super sharp. It has some of the best music I've heard, or at least best musical choices in the film. And this is a directorial debut of Emerald Fennell, who, she's an actor. She's on The Crown, and, she's been in a bunch of stuff lately. I believe she was behind the second season of Killing Eve, which wasn't as good as the first season, but I really enjoyed still overall. I'd recommend you check out this movie. Just be prepared for a blowout ending. Like, you may end up hating this movie, you may end up loving it, but I think it is like a pure artistic expression. And I hope more people see it, and I hope more people get to talk about it. And hey, we talked about it on the Slash Filmcast most recently, so you could check out a review of that there too. All right, you could take us out, Sherlyn.
All right, cool. Well, that's it for our episode this week, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter. Maybe you can find my secret TikTok account somewhere. And I podcast about movies and TV at the Slash Filmcast at slashfilm.com.
If you have cute animated babies or puppies, or I guess kittens, to share, you can send them my way on Twitter at SherlynLow. Email us your thoughts and feedback at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes, and subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Woo!
Okay, yeah, we're taking more questions, doing more
Q&A time, people.
Yeah, talking to the stream. So while you were talking about Coda, Cher, people were talking about just, some like sense some this is I'm laughing at something else. This is very serious, but people were talking about like the possibility of losing senses, being deaf or being blind. D-Man talked about not having that many experiences with the deaf community, but then visiting Gallaudet, which is like the big university for people who are deaf and hard of hearing in DC. That's it's a big thing that they are in the majority there.
That's
people
cool.
Who are deaf or hard of hearing are in the majority there, because
super cool.
That means that they can make the rules.
Last week, by the way, Terrence and I, or at least I told Terrence he needed to see Sound of Metal, the amazing film on Amazon Prime starring Riz Ahmed. It is part of this conversation too, because that's a film about a guy who loves music and at the beginning of the movie loses his hearing. And it's about his struggle with that and how he deals with it. But incredible movie. Everybody, seriously, stop what you're doing right now. Just go watch Sound of Metal. It is one of the best things I saw last year. Yeah.
So a family member of mine. Oh, I don't want to step on Sherlyn. Yeah, let's get.
I was going to say, bringing up Gallaudet University. I mean, they're some of the people I interviewed for my accessibility piece, and I interviewed, I think, their chief technology and some other people working with Google on technology as well. And it's not just. I don't even know if it's chicken and egg. I don't know if it's because they emphasize teaching in ways that are accessible to deaf and hard of hearing students so much that they draw in more students that way, or if it's because they had so many students and therefore they emphasize, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's chicken and egg a little bit, but they from the beginning, and they're still like one of the most focused on teaching techniques for people with hearing disability and hearing loss. So they're one of, I think, a couple institutions that are doing that in the US, which is incredible. And I mean, there's so much more we can do. And at least there's a school that's around doing this, which is nice.
Well, yeah. And so I have a family member who went to RIT, that's Rochester Institute of Technology, up in upstate New York.
Almost went there. Yeah.
Apparently, that is another one of the places that is very inviting to deaf and hard of hearing students. So, like at the graduation ceremony, there will be a lot of people clapping and a lot of people going like this, because that's sign language for clapping. And they were really good about like having the convocation and commencement addresses. There were huge ASL translators, or huge projections of ASL translators. Why not do that more often? Like my own alma mater does not do that. They don't have any kind of ASL translation at all. And they are one of those tiny liberal arts colleges that you would think would really pride themselves on inviting more people to enjoy.
Yeah, it's because people often forget. I don't think it's any malintent on anyone's part. I think it's easy to just overlook. And it's just a tough thing to keep telling people you have to remember this or whatever. It's an uphill battle, I think, for a lot of people, but it's increasing. Awareness is increasing, which is a good thing. We have more questions.
Oh, and also on that same topic, apparently, is there Notes on Blindness? Is that a movie or is that a VR experience that's kind of like
I don't remember hearing about that.
Because Mark suggested that Notes on Blindness, like if there was a thing to do in Atmos.
Yep. It is a short film. Yeah.
Okay, a short film, but like develop a 360-degree film for maybe it couldn't be totally blind, because otherwise you would really need to give sighted people some visual feedback, so it isn't just terrifying to be in a black ball.
That could be, that could actually be
if there was
interesting.
If there was ever an Atmos experience, like wow.
For sure. And I think we tend to overlook sound design when it comes to certain things too. That's one thing I appreciate about Sound of Metal, because the way they convey this guy going from a hard rock life, like he's a drummer in a hard rock band, like he crushes his eardrums every night, and then to the point where all he's hearing is like these distorted mumbles from people, and then eventually like different things come into play, like different technologies that could maybe assist him, and the sort of way the movie uses that is fascinating. So yeah, sound design can explain a lot. It's something I also talked about in our review of Users, the Sundance documentary, where the way it conveyed sound told that story really well too. And that also has an Atmos mix. So I do think like it's getting easier for indie theaters or indie creators to use those things. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Dev. Have you invested in Dogecoin?
I got something better for you. I think let me give you some ground floor information, folks, on the Engadget doggy coin.
We have some
here we go.
Okay. All right.
We have some hot investor tips for y'all. We got Engadget Dogecoin. I think that's what we're calling it.
Engadget Dogecoin. Engadget Dogcoin.
Dogcoin, according to our insiders.
Well, yeah, because it's
EDC.
Okay, yes, but let's be very clear about this. This is not a ICO from Engadget. This is literally just a Photoshop.
This is just, SEC, how is that different from an ICO? Come on. How is that different from most virtual currencies? It's just a Photoshop.
Yes, this is literally, I don't know how this came about, but we were doing our production meeting yesterday. We were talking with the leader of the video team, Kyle Mock. He was saying that he actually put some money in Dogecoin and made some money back on it. So maybe that's what tipped off the idea of let's do a Dogecoin.
Be careful with your money right now, people, because things are crazy out there, and it is getting wild.
the old saying, "A fool and their money are soon parted," it comes to mind here. It's really, really easy. Like, I mean, that's why Ponzi schemes worked, right?
Yeah.
Because people were like, "It's crazy. It's just like money from the sky, literally
20% returns. Amazing.
Yeah, literally pennies from heaven." People were really into it until they realized that it was actually a pyramid scheme. And quick mention of a podcast called The Dream, which is all about pyramid schemes. The first
love it. Yeah.
The first season is all about pyramid schemes. Second season is all about all about
MLM.
No, not well, pyramid schemes and MLMs are kind of the same thing, but the second season is all about kind of like the kind of crystal wellness, vibration healing kind of industry. But one of the things that I learned from that podcast about the pyramid schemes and MLMs is that within like 4 or 5 levels, you need to recruit more people than there are on Earth to keep the pyramid schemes going, because it goes at an exponential rate.
This is the problem. Yeah.
You like 2 people need to get 4 people need to get even more people, and eventually it's just completely unsustainable for anyone above the bottom level to make any kind of money.
That's about right.
So again, putting this on the screen, but this is not an ICO. Don't come after us. This is literally just a Photoshop.
Hopefully, you won't find anything to buy anywhere with those letters. But anyway, Gonzalo Costa has a question in the chat asking, "Do you think we'll get a Pixel Watch this year by Google?" LOL.
Might as well be a Photoshop. Yeah.
The Fitbit acquisition did just happen, which is nice. I highly doubt I don't know. All I can say is I
need a term for milkshake ducking, except what Google does to any consumer product. It's like Stadia, this hot new streaming app. Well, 1 year later, Stadia has been canceled.
To inform you that Stadia has been canceled.
Google Reader. Everybody loves Google Reader, right? It's great. It's fantastic.
I will say the Pixel Watch has been rumored for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see it, because the acquisition, they finally have like a sort of decent hardware arm as part of their umbrella. I'm not sure if it will be this year. It might be. You never know. It could be like towards the later half of this year.
Like, you know what? Like we did when the smartwatches started coming out, Samsung was like, okay, curved glass. I can make curved things happen. If somebody makes the actual, like a good curved OLED smart bracelet type thing that is all screen and not just like a tiny little watch thing, that could be useful. Like an actual Wonder Woman style bracelet or something that is all screen. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever get there.
Nubia made something like that, like a wearable with a curved screen altogether. Never.
It was too early.
Yeah. So we'll see. But good question.
So Mark Dell in the chat says, "I hear Google Wave is the future of email." Talk about things that date one, that show how old one is.
I used to, one of my first podcasts, we organized over Wave, and there are actually certainly, like, there were some good ideas in Google Wave, but not enough.
Wave.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong? The entire idea of Wave as a brand name was from Firefly, the TV show.
Was it?
Because
they sent waves as messages. I don't know. Sure, why not?
That.
Sure.
Okay. So Shirley, you've already seen the Kitten Academy live stream, the mention of the Kitten Academy live stream. I don't know what that is other than maybe just like a licensed kitten breeder or something, but like, why not? If you've got way too many baby animals, just put a webcam in front of them. People love that.
Make some money.
I will be happy to check it out because it's a cute 24-hour kitten live stream. I am more interested in cute baby, because the thing about cute babies is not just that they look cute, but they also sound super cute when they're trying to like say things and whatever.
They sound cute for when you're not dealing with everything else.
When you're not responsible for them.
Yeah. It sounds so cute when they're not waking up in the middle of the night, or not sleeping, or not napping, or not eating, or not doing anything you're telling them to. Yeah. So cute.
Exactly. This is why I offered to babysit for an hour.
Yeah. No, like Sherlyn, I believe you said you would babysit, and you offered your services indefinitely. So yeah, I'm going to take you up on that eventually. Yeah.
You have until your kid stops being a baby. Then
I still need babysitting help. Come on now.
We'll see.
There's this one thing that's been happening on TikTok, which is, I guess, just an extension of like something that's been happening for a while, where people are like getting their toddlers to turn around and then like whapping them on the face with a craft single, which I think is hilarious. But I also wonder,
I wouldn't want to do
about
that.
the like just gently throwing a craft single
just
onto
like
their face.
whap. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and so like I think that there needs to be a larger conversation about the ethics behind using your kid for content.
For that, and also like
because
it's not just
have not really figured that out yet.
It's not just TikTok too, but it's also like YouTube. Like people do these weird, annoying pranks to get hits, basically, and eventually they get like that. That guy who pretended to be robbing a bank, right? Somebody just shot him over the weekend for a YouTube prank. So,
wait, like actually shot with a gun.
Shot with a real gun. He was killed because of a YouTube prank. So these these all stem from like prank videos because that's funny. It's like American Home Videos or America's Funniest Home Videos, right? Like where something happens to somebody and you're like, oh, and it's funny, but that person is hoping to get paid for this, you know? Not a fan. There's also the meme of my dog bit my wife and I had to put her down and then cut to putting down. And then you put the wife down or the kid or whatever. That is you drag them away in a blanket. That is the current TikTok meme I see floating around.
I will say though that there are some like the question about ethics about putting your child on social media. I think a lot of people have debated it. I think it's to every parent's discretion. Every child and every family is going to be different. I don't think we're going to come up with an ethics guideline.
For sure.
Everyone should be doing it. But
and I've been really careful about that, by the way. Like it is tough. Like I've posted photos occasionally. Sophia starred in a video for us because we were talking about baby gadgets and she seemed down with it. But I am worried when people are like actively making their kids miserable in a way, and not just for being, not just like accidentally, but doing it for the views or for the clicks. Like that is a whole nother world of insanity.
Which is why I highly dislike those Jimmy Kimmel late night, like tell your kids you ate all their Halloween candy.
Oh something.
Somehow people haven't made the connection between like, oh, showbiz kids like Mary-Kate and Ashley or you know anyone who grew up in front of a camera like that,
which has worked out very badly for most showbiz kids.
They've learned a lot of the wrong things about like performance in the world and like performing in front of a camera, and they don't connect that with the fact that everyone has a camera now. Everyone can be kind of like a mobile video studio. This has gotten way off topic.
Let's add this all as bonus content.
Yeah, let's
the end of the episode.
Like the Pixel or something.
Hey, I mean
that is we get from Pixel Watch.
I actually need to round up a couple of new parents and have this conversation at some point. And I'm sure Terrence has some thoughts too because he has a young child. But yeah, the ethics of kids in the digital age. I have to say, like, I ended up locking my Instagram posts or my Instagram account just because I don't care about the followers right now. And also, like, I started seeing people like older photos in a way of like, I hear from a lot of women, like when guys start doing that repeatedly on certain posts, you're like, oh, that's gross. What are you doing? Weird. That's weird. And then I started seeing like some accounts doing that for Sophia. I was like, I don't know if I like this. You know, so I locked my account. I don't really care. Some, people who follow me,
nobody knows what like public media, social media posts could be used for like facial recognition scraping or anything like that.
I mean, well, that's a lost cause. You put anything out there, like, but the scraping bots will get it.
That is why I've seen some parents literally just not post their children's faces. Like they will post the back of their kid's head, and they'll be like, "Had a fun day at the park" or something.
It's a legitimately good reason, except like I don't. That's like that's the subject of a documentary.
Yeah. It's It's going to
like,
be.
can you hide from the eyes of facial recognition? Technically, you can't, because there are cameras even in public spaces that
everywhere, yeah,
that are capturing you, and that stuff gets put into a database. And depending on which city you live in, yeah, it can get really weird. Anything else, guys?
I
don't think there's any more questions from the chat. Oh wait, Pat
Q. Open source smartwatch.
No.
No.
So open source smartwatch, and could open source phones be a thing in the future? It depends on what you mean by open source, honestly. Like, you mean
we can't even get an open source like operating system out there and consumable for a lot of people. Like, I've tried getting to Linux for a lot of years, right? And like, I think at a certain point you're like, oh, this is why you deal with the compromises of iOS, right, or Mac OS or Windows, because open source means you got to fix everything yourself.
I'd say that the open source desktop and laptop OSs are robust, but like making
not user friendly.
Yeah, making that step toward open source mobile or anything else is a whole new thing.
I'm sure it's going to exist. Like, there are Raspberry Pis, right?
Let's get Sherlyn here.
Technically, AOSP is open source, and technically you can take Android and run with it if you're talking about just software. But I don't know if Pat Kilo's question was specifically about software, or if it was about learning how to build parts that are like in an out there watch. I feel like Pebble felt somewhat open source in terms of smartwatches, but Pebble is pretty dead.
I could see like a future Raspberry Pi, right? Like that tech, like a Raspberry Pi form factor in like a watch form. Like, yeah, let people run with that. Sure.
They always feel so janky.
Yep.
This is why some of the like hackers from like the Stallman era, hackers in the kind of Richard Stallman umbrella are rightfully depressed about the current state of things, because their whole idea was like utopianism. You'll be able to, with microprocessors being available to everyone, you can, self-style your own operating system or your own interface for literally anything.
These people were never good at user experience. Yeah. I mean, technically you can do that if you have the will and you want to do stuff. I just saw something where somebody hacked one of those old Apple EyeSight cameras and put in like a new lens and a Raspberry Pi for like body, and turned into like a nice 1080p webcam, upgrading that thing from VGA. But who can do that? Only a few people can do that. Like, the Stallman people and his ilk, they're the ones who can hack, but everybody else, like, you have to survive with what's available to you. Yeah.
I think the world that they dreamed of also included code being more of an elemental skill for living in society. So it's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and code that you're learning. What if you had, the basic, God, I know so little about code that I can't even guess.
How much does algebra, like, how big of a role does algebra play in your life now, Ben? And you learned that in 8th grade.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I use it to like solve for X, but really like solving for X and
just a basic solve for X. Yeah.
Other than basic solving for X, not that much, which is depressing to me, because really I do think that I should be at least a little bit better at reading code, because I mean, like, that's a whole sector of society that I'm just not participating in.
It's a thing. I would actually love to get, now that you bring it up, I'd love to actually talk with somebody from that era of computing and just be like, hey, so what do you think about how everything is going now? Like, what's up?
How sad are you right now?
How sad are you? But also, like, how hopeful are you? But I also don't think, I grew up reading those guys and everything, right? And I don't think I have to like everything they were hoping for, right? Not everybody should learn to code. The ideal of human computer interaction should be, you don't code. You just talk to your machine like another person. It's a natural conversation, and that's where I've always leaned to. Yeah.
Which, if you want to get way far off topic, that's why people
what's
are
up, Sherlyn?
About GPT-3. But let's go on to what Sherlyn has to say.
No, just saying, you guys were talking about, I don't know, what seemed like older people stuff, and let's have a young explain to us Pog. Yeah. Julio can now be heard by the stream. You guys can listen to Julio's voice now. Julio, want to explain Pog?
No, not really. What's up, guys?
What are you doing?
You can't play a prank on me like this. Come on.
Oh.
No. Yeah, they can hear me. Pog is basically from Twitch, as far as I know.
It is from Twitch. It is what we're saying.
It's a evolution of the word PogChamp, and then it just became Pog. Then it took another variation into PogU, into Poggers, into Pogoli, into Poggy, into
typical.
It's a whole.
Crochet.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually, and every streamer kind of adopted their form of PogChamp, and they kind of added that to their community, and that is some type of value or like inside joke. So that's kind of cool.
It's funny. Like inside jokes, right? I feel like every friend group has inside jokes, and memes are just inside jokes for a specific subset of internet. Yeah.
We've got Steven Saha from the live stream or the live chat explaining Pog is play of the game. It started as a Twitch thing and it became a meme. Yep. POG, play of the game. Mark Dell has a Pog maker. Excellent.
Wait, no, but I think we're talking about speaking of things that older people would be interested in. I'm thinking you're talking about Pogs like from the 90s.
Exactly. I mean, hey, listen, Pogs are back in meme form, okay?
Well, yeah, do they have PogChamp Pogs? Because that would be like the...
I'm sure somebody did that.
We are so scraping the bottom of the barrel. This stream comes to us via our video team led by Kyle Mako and David Off and Julio Barrientos, with Luke Brooks and sometimes Jason Shark, but I don't think he's been on for a little while. It's powered by everyone in the chat. Thank you for bearing with us. We've gotten way off topic today. But if you've stuck around this long, and I'm really surprised, but thank you for having done so. Rate the show on iTunes. We live in a world of algorithms, and it helps more than you think. We're cutting it here. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, folks. Later. All right, we're good. Stopping recording.